Let's talk about Vegas, baby. The lights, the music, the sounds, the pools, the clubs. Huh? It's quite a unique place. To be honest with you, I despise Vegas. Hate it. I'd be happy if I never had to go back there again in my life. But that's not to say that that wasn't the case in my earlier chapters of life, the early 20s, 21, 22. I made quite a few trips out there. And I recall walking to the casino on one of my earlier trips, and we came across this slot machine, Wheel of Fortune, and it's just screaming at us, Wheel of Fortune! My buddy goes, I always win on this. So he goes and he sits down, and within 5 minutes, he turned $100 into $2,500. And I was like, cool, good for him. You know, he was excited. That's the idea with gambling, right? There's this risk, and you get the reward, and it's great. A few days later, he decided to stay up all night, gambled, lost all of his money, but to keep his dignity, you know, he had fun doing it, and it was entertaining. There's this psychologist by the name of B.F. Skinner, and in the 1960s, he conducted an experiment known as Skinner's box. And he put a pigeon within a box that had a lever, and he wanted to see this idea of rewarding yourself. And so when the pigeon pecked at the lever, a little pellet of food came out. And so lever, peck, food, lever, food. And what he decided to do was to remove the food from it. So sometimes the pigeon would peck and it would get food. Sometimes it would peck and it wouldn't get food. And what's interesting is that he found that by removing pellets and making it kind of, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, the pigeon engaged with that lever much more frequently than they did when every time they got a pellet of food. And it's this idea of blending that tension with that release of getting the reward. And too little bit of a reward, the pigeon got frustrated and stopped. Too much, aka getting a pellet of food every time, it slowed down. And this reminds me a lot of kind of those earlier slot machines where you pull the lever and the numbers spin and you get a reward. But what's interesting is as we moved into the digital era and we got away from that traditional slot machine, they started introducing these Wheel of Fortunes and the Friends. Well, now things got a little bit interesting because people took what they learned from B.F. Skinner's box and now engage what we call social engineering. How can we predict and create this behavior within people? And so when you look at these things now, they got the flashing lights, they got the million rows of things where you can get all these different rewards, and it's able to tap into that reward system and keep you there, keep you wanting more. And that's how they're able to profit off of this. And for me, this idea of social engineering, of kind of manipulating people based on their psychology for a financial gain, just kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I don't really like the idea of it. But unfortunately, that's kind of the world that we live in today. And I'm not here to talk about gambling or addiction of gambling. What I'm here to talk about today is actually this idea of social media. Yeah, social media. Steve Jobs, his vision of this iPhone, it sounds kind of silly when we think back to it now, but his vision was really, really simple. He wanted a phone that could make calls, and that you could listen to music on. That was his vision. Very simple. And what we know is that it's come a long way since then. I mean, it's our companion. That thing doesn't leave our side. And if we look back to 2010, when, we'll just talk about Facebook here, but as they were gearing up for their IPO, they needed to do whatever they could to help boost how they looked in investors' eyes. And so aside from revenue, they needed to increase their users, the amount of users, and they needed to increase the amount of times users engage with their platform. And that's around the time when we started to see people shift from desktop over to mobile. So they took a gamble on phones and they devoted a lot of time and resources and investment into their mobile app. And they took a page from the casino's playbook. And they engaged in this idea of social engineering. How can we use this reward system to help people coming back to our platform? And that's when you see the like button introduced. And when you see the tagging introduced, it's not so you can just tag your friends, it's so people can get that pleasure of, hey, I matter to some people. And then I'm gonna go back and see how many more posts I have. And I think the ones that have the most direct correlation, and I find these interesting, if you think about Instagram. Have you ever logged onto Instagram and you see a photo there, and then it jumps down to the bottom as the things reload, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to go find that photo. That's intentional. Or that time when you run out of photos and you pull the thing down and it spins and more photos appear. Kind of reminds me of a little pull a lever in the slot machine now. The reason that I'm making this connection is that when you think about going to Vegas and having the idea of gambling, it's very intentional. It's a decision that you're making. I know I'm going to Vegas. I know that I could win, I could lose, but I'm going to go spend my time doing that. I'm going to invest my time, I'm going to invest my energy, I'm going to invest my money. However, when it comes to social media or our phone, I don't think that we're all that intentional with it. And we've gotten to a place now where a lot of what we do it's just part of our habit system. And some of that is just because we like it, but another part of it is because of the social engineering that's been done to get us addicted to it, to get us to like it. And so if this message is resonating with you today, and you're starting to have this kind of, wow, maybe I should pay attention there, maybe I do want to get a little bit more intentional, I have 3 recommendations. First one is going to be the easiest, the third one's going to be the hardest, but the first one I'd recommend is a social media purge. And what I mean by that is go through everyone that you follow and just get rid of the people that don't add any value to your life. I did this about 1.5 years ago, and as I did it, not only did I find people that I just didn't care about seeing what they're doing, I had accounts that I was following that were meant to be inspirational and motivational, but when I really thought about it, sometimes they made me feel like small, like, oh man, they're doing so much and I'm not doing anything. And so while the intention was good, maybe when I started following them, they weren't adding any positivity in my life, so got rid of it. So that's the easiest one, and I think the one I first and foremost recommend. The second recommendation I have would be to enable this little feature on the iPhone that's called Screen Time, and it'll just start tracking everything that you do, how often you engage in these apps, how often you're opening them, and at the end of the week it'll send you a little bit report. So it's a very passive thing, like it's just a one-time thing, and then you'll get data on it from there. But you'll start to really question, how did I spend 3 hours on my phone that day when I was doing all these other things? We find time, and like I said, sometimes it's unintentional, but it's there. The third thing that I recommend is once you see kind of where you're spending all your time and you want to be a little bit more intentional, you group all those together and throw them like 5 slides down your phone. Make it a mission to get over to those. So that way you're consciously making a decision. Hey, I'm gonna go down this way and I'm gonna go into Instagram. Because there's so many times now where you'll just be on your phone. I remember you just like make a call or something, and then it's there, so you just tap on it, and then you go down a rabbit hole, and then the time is gone. And as you think about this and start to become a little bit more intentional, I want you to start asking the question to yourselves: how much time and how much energy am I willing to gamble on these products? And if you want to engage in some communication about this or talk with me more about it, my Instagram handle is Rycoon. You can go ahead and message me there. Otherwise, I'm available in person as well. Thank you.